What is up, podheads? Back with another episode of the Podioslave podcast. My name is Tony. I'm joined, as always, by Anthony and Nate.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Is that Nate?
That's
Hey,
Nate.
Nate's here.
Yeah,
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
dude. The back door was open, so I kind of snuck in, checking out
I heard my name.
checking out the scene. Yeah.
Who let this motherfucker in? That's what I wanted to know.
Hey, I brought pizza. Let's go.
Oh, okay, I'm in. Yeah, let's go. All right. But yeah, no, we're back doing the damn thing, talking music, talking nerdery, talking to bands, talking about new records, doing the thing that we do on a weekly basis, and we're happy that you're here for it. But Nate wasn't here for the interview. So Twan, you want to give us a little background on what's going on?
2 words. Eric Egan. 3 words. Heart Attack Man. If you haven't heard about him, you will now. So they do have a new album coming out, Joyride the Pale Horse. It's coming out April 25th. And in this convo, we talk pretty much everything, right? How we discovered them, evolution of the band, the Cleveland scene a bit, right? We get into all that. We get into kind of them Eric going to shows, finding their sound.
Yep.
It's like behind the music on every level you'd want, Nate.
Ooh, you had me at behind the music. That's all I had to say.
Okay. It
That's all I
took
had to
that far? It took that long?
Every episode is behind the music.
say. Oh my god, I love it. I love it, dude.
No, it's a good. That's a good point, Twan. It's one of those episodes that we've been doing this a while, and early on we weren't as good at it as we are today, right? But this is one of those episodes where the conversation was just kind of free flowing, and we hit on a bunch of stuff that we all liked, and at the same, like, 90s music. We all love 90s music. Nate, you can attest. You're a big 90s music fan. If you had to pick one decade to grow up in, probably would have been the 90s. I know we say that because we did it, but the music is so diverse from that decade. Well, Eric feels the same way, even though he's roughly 10 years younger than us. So I guess we're doing something right? So yeah, that piece alone was like, this is fun. I like doing this with people who are like-minded and are just about the music, about the being a nerd and liking it and being, immersed in the scene, whatever scene that may be. We jump from scene to scene because we like it all, but there are people that are just, they know that what they like and they're into it. And Eric is one of those dudes, and his band is awesome.
I feel like Chat GPT right now. Like, ooh, spicy, all the feels. Tell me more.
Wow.
Wow. It's funny, like, Tony, so if anyone doesn't know, Tony edits the podcast, and he often will kind of give us like a Twitter play-by-play of like, oh shit, remember when Eric said this? And I'm like, well, that was a month ago, but now I remember, right? And I'm remembering now, we talked about hum appreciation, we talk about 90s appreciation, we talk about
Bone Thugs and Harmony, they come up.
Bone Thugs get, actually, the first
9 Inch Nails comes up.
Yeah. And he's a nerd. Oh, Crime in Stereo, right? They played shows with Crime in Stereo back in the day. Like, we get into it. This is a nerd session. We talk about, actually, now that I'm remembering, we talk about reconnecting with old friends.
Yeah.
Through music and through the scene.
We've done that a million times. I mean, with this podcast, and we've made new friends too, but we've connected with old friends through this podcast.
So Nate, this is me selling you on this combo that's going to be released everyone's going to hear it in like 2 minutes. Don't underscore that. Like, for a lot of us that got into this when we were younger, you made a lot of good friends, and hey, reconnect with them.
How we do, Nate? Do we tell you on it? You ready for this?
Oh yeah, dude. Especially with the music conduit, which is how we all came together. So yeah, dude, I'm sold. Let's go.
All right. Eric Egan, Heart Attack Man, coming right at you.
Let's go.
Hey guys, Tony here. It may feel like the end of this episode is a little bit choppy and ended kind of abruptly. We had some technical difficulties. It's the name of the game. It happens, especially when you're a DIY outfit like we are. But this is an awesome conversation. It doesn't take away from any of the stuff that we talked about with Eric. And the record is amazing, so go check out those guys.
All right, we're here with Eric from Heart Attack Man. Eric, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
As we've read online, it's always Heart Attack Man and never How Attack Man. So I'm glad you're doing good, because we read that today.
Oh, thank you.
And for anyone listening that doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about, go to the Heart Attack Man X account, formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, and this will come out like a month after that got put out too, so it's gonna make no sense.
Yeah, like check out this tweet that I posted at like one in the morning last night, and yeah, really dig back, and I'm sure by then it'll be buried by a bunch of other nonsense.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, we wanted to make sure we asked you how you were because it's always Heart Attack Man and never How Attack Man. So
Yeah.
So we first heard about you guys, 2017, right? Anthony, you saw them open for Crime and Stereo in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So I'm a big Crime guy.
At Sonia.
At Sonia, yeah, good memory.
Yeah.
I'm a big Crime guy. And when that was announced, there were two openers, Prawn and Heart Attack Man. At that point in time, I'd never heard of either one of you guys. So I was like, these are cool names. Like, I've never heard of them. Let's check it out. And you guys were awesome. Yeah, Sonia. And it was before they had their liquor license. So they were just serving kombucha that night.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to think. I was thinking about the other day, like 2018 still feels like 3 years ago to me.
Right.
So, but like, it's fucked up to me now that 2017 is 8 years ago. That's fucked. But the Crime and Stereo weekend of shows that we did with them, that was like so fun. I love Crime and Stereo, and they were huge for me in high school. And getting asked to do that was like really kind of like the first big oh shit moment for our band, where I was like, whoa, this
Nice.
I did not expect this to happen, but we obviously were super excited about it and down. It was great. That was a very fun, formative time.
Yeah. And it's probably tough playing a show, although maybe not this type of show, but playing a show where there's no booze, because like you got to really manufacture some energy to get some people amped up, right? Like it's just kombucha, guys. Let's go. We got to make this ourselves.
I mean, it personally for me it doesn't matter, but yeah, I mean, like sometimes I feel like I'm just oblivious to my surroundings at times, and it surely was not thinking like, oh, if people are drinking at all, then it might be a little looser, a little bit like maybe, I don't know, moving around a bit more or something. I don't know. I wasn't thinking about that, but that makes sense.
Yeah, that was a great show. Yeah. But that was kind of where it started, where you kind of got on our radar. And I don't think, Tony, you or I really, deep dived the band until fairly recently. Like songs would come up and I'd like them on Spotify, but I never like listened to full album. Like I think I did check out Fake Blood, right, when that dropped, but it wasn't until like this album cycle where I kind of really took notice.
Oh, I appreciate you checking it out in any capacity, but yeah, like doing a deep dive. I mean, we've kind of, I feel like over the years, like it all kind of, as everything flows and as our career progresses and as like, I don't know, as we release more and more music, it's like we find new things that we're influenced by and that we want to kind of bring into the fold of what we want to try and expand our repertoire. But when it's all happening in real time, it like feels fine and comfortable and makes sense to me. But then it's like when you go from like the Joyride the Pale Horse back to the Manson Family, it's like a lot. There's a lot. For me, it's like listening to the two. It's like a being them. It's like, oh wow, yeah, this is like quite different. But I like to think it all still makes sense together, and that like the catalog, like doing a deep dive on it, it's like a cohesive listen.
Yeah,
there's like a journey taking place.
Well, and you're gonna level up right as you go, because you just get better at what you do. You figure out your voice a little more, and you're able to know this is our wheelhouse, or let's take this chance and try this because I think we can pull this off now that maybe we couldn't do that in 2013 when we started.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like now is like this is the first record where I've really kind of felt like I started feeling it on the last record for sure, but like now I'm like, okay, like I am a singer and I like can sing and I know what I'm doing, and like I don't know, I had a really like tracking vocals for this record. It was kind of the easiest going time that I've had tracking vocals, and it was really awesome. I mean, I feel like now more than ever I've said it before, but I feel like we're the best at being Heart Attack Man now than we ever have been at being Heart Attack Man.
Well, the thing is, I don't know your history before this band, but like you got what 12 years of reps with the band, so that's like what hits live. So maybe that factors into the writing process. You know how the studio process works. You know what songs hit, what don't. This is awesome because Tony and I have never been in a band, so like we live through like the people we talk to, and I can only imagine, especially 12 years ago, I was late 20s. That was my first band. I wouldn't know what the fuck was going on, you know.
So like for context, I mean, me, Adam, and Ty, we've all been playing in bands for well over half our lives. I mean, I just turned 32. The first time I ever played a live show, I was 13. So,
Wow.
and it's like, you know, been different projects and different bands over the years, but like always in succession. It's like I've always had like a show or like a tour or recording coming up at any given time. Like I've always had something to like look forward to. And it's been the same with Adam and Ty. It's like we've been, you know, constantly at it in varying capacities with different projects over the years. But like that was the thing kind of early on for us, is that like in the early days of Heart Attack Man, it kind of came at the, you know, I personally was like hot off the heels of an old band that I was playing in. It was a much faster, like melodic hardcore kind of band, like super influenced by like Lifetime and Kid Dynamite, that kind of stuff. And we had, you know, done everything DIY, did like a couple big laps around the US doing that and kind of like cutting our teeth that way. And then so like coming from that and that fizzling out and then focusing on Heart Attack Man, I was like, okay, like I've kind of experienced a lot of these things that I've experienced a lot already that I wasn't like, we weren't rushing to like do anything too prematurely with Heart Attack Man. So like the first 4 years of our band, we really we were like, we're not in a rush to like go on tour and like play out in California, because like I've done that already and it's cool, and like, you know, I'm glad that to have experienced that, you know, at a young age and everything, but like it kind of gave us some patience where we're like, okay, we want to wait for like the right time, and above all else, early on, we wanted to do things, you know, what felt like the right way to us, and really just establish ourselves as like a solid local band and become like a hometown favorite. You know, we're like, we were focused so much more locally. And then from there it was like, okay, let's like focus outward a little bit more and, you know, be a little bit more regional. And then from there it's like, okay, let's, you know, I mean, the first, like we did some DIY runs that were like regional kind of East Coast stuff. And then by the time that we did our first full US tour, it was when we released our first album, and it was, you know, it was right before that Crime and Stereo run, actually. So we did, you know, it was like 4 years had gone by before we actually like made our first attempt to like get out and see, you know, most of the US and make it out to the West Coast and stuff. So like kind of I think was helpful for us in ways of like not getting too ahead of ourselves too early.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, especially where you'd kind of done it and you're like, okay, this works, but maybe you fizzle out because you're on the road all the time and you're not focusing on the music. So when you guys were in that kind of period, was there a clear, like, this is how we want to sound, or has it just evolved over time?
It's evolved over time for sure. I mean, like the earliest incarnation of the band, I was really like, because like my old band that I had mentioned, we had kind of started playing shows with Adam and Ty's old band, and then because of that, like we were playing with, you know, more like catchy melodic bands that weren't fast. Like some of the earliest influences for me, like one that's, you know, like local to Ohio. I mean, they're originally from Cleveland, but then moved to Columbus, is the Sidekicks, and that was like a huge band for all of us growing up, because they were like, I don't know, one of the first bands that we all saw in real time, like going on tour and like doing it. But I was like, I want to like write music is a little bit more in this wheelhouse, because that was just what was kind of speaking to me. My old band, like I said, was like super fast, and we were kind of like odd band out on some of these bills where, you know, we were like making new friends and playing with bands that were, you know, a bit slower and kind of focused more on like melody and actual songwriting and stuff.
So the region you're talking about is Cleveland. And I know when I think Cleveland, I think Bone Thugs.
Yeah, me too.
I think Nine Inch Nails. I think Integrity. I think Ringworm. Yeah. What was popping off locally for you guys? Like, were there, and I think Chimera, I read, was
Oh
from there
yeah, dude,
too.
I love Chimera.
Yeah, so like
Everything
those
you
are all
mentioned, I'm
over the
like,
map.
yep.
Yeah,
Dude, I'm seeing Nine Inch Nails in August, and I cannot fucking wait, dude. Like I've
Oh,
never
yeah.
I'm
seen
so
them,
jealous.
and like, yeah.
You've never seen them? They're fucking awesome. I've seen them
I
like
never
5
have.
times.
I never have. So I'm like so excited. But yeah, I mean, like locally, let's see. I mean, like leading up to, I mean, the scene that I kind of came up in, which was like I first started going to shows when I was 16. I mean, it was playing shows before then, but it was like my dad would always drive us, and like I wasn't really like going to shows on my own. Yeah, I like every now and then would be able to if like a friend, like one of my friends had his license or something, we could go, but like started really going to shows a lot on my own when I got my driver's license. And the thing also with that, a big factor was that like the shows that I was finding out about and wanting to go to were at like a super sketchy DIY venue that like in, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
in a part of town that would make my parents worry. I'm like, I'm not having them drop me off there. Like, you know, and I was, if I have them drop me off here, I'm never going to be allowed to go back. So like really kind of came up at that time, like sort of in my, I don't know, late adolescence, like pre Heart Attack, man. But like as I started like really getting into the scene more, it was all hardcore. And like the band I had played in before, you know, like I said, was kind of like faster melodic hardcore, and there like wasn't as much of a scene for like the melodic stuff, but like there was like enough, I guess. But then as that band fizzled out and I started focusing on Heart Attack, man, I feel like Cleveland at the time was kind of like more of the melodic, kind of catchy, you know, pop punk or indie emo, melodic focused stuff that was like kind of slower and I don't know, just like more influenced by what I had talked about more in that wheelhouse. That was kind of starting to like to blossom a little bit more, I feel, and there was definitely like more of that going on. So I mean, it was kind of, I mean, in a lot of ways for Heart Attack, man, it was like a right place, right time for us locally, because it's like if we had started, you know, like a few years earlier, I feel like no one would have given a shit. And like we're very fortunate early on that like when we started dropping our earliest material, like locally we had like a huge well of support, just like right off the rip. People were like very excited about the band, and like our first show was really sick, and like I don't know, people were there like singing along, and we played for like 10 minutes. But it's like I feel like at that time it was like it in Cleveland it's always kind of ebbed and flowed as to like what is kind of popping locally at the time. And you know, prior to all that, like my sort of background and what I was originally much more into and involved early on, and what kind of like sent me down this journey is hardcore. And but I've always been very drawn to the stuff that's kind of in between a couple or a few different things. You know, it's like that.
Me too, man.
You know, it's the stuff that kind of interests me the most. I mean, I love bands that like fit snugly into a spot as much as the next guy, but like I don't know, there's something really exciting to me about when someone's like merging a few different things, and because it's as a musician, to me that's more of a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, and it's more of a challenge to not only it's more of a challenge not only to do it, but also to get people to like care about it and like to understand it. Because you know, if you're at the helm of something that's a bit unprecedented, it's like, you know, it's a little bit more exciting to me because it's like uncharted waters. But then, you know, when there's something that's like been done before, but it's done really well, sometimes the itch that scratches is pretty amazing. But you know, I'm really drawn to like a lot of stuff that's kind of in between a few different things.
I'm right there with you, and I love hearing bands that can pull off living in a couple of different worlds. Because like, okay, here's the song that puts us in this world, and here's the song that puts us in this world, and here's one that's got all of it. And you're just like, all right, cool. Like, this is amazing that you can pull that off. And I think you guys do that in spots, especially on the new record, which we'll get to here in a minute. But there's a lot of different worlds you guys can live in too. And it makes sense with your background. Just, you know, hearing you talk about it for the last 15 minutes, it makes complete sense that you'd like a lot of different things and want to be, you're putting that out to the world too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
this is interesting because you had band experience before the band, which gives you a leg up. I was kind of smirking when you were talking earlier that I remember in like the MySpace era, bands would try to tour the US on a demo, and I'm glad that shit is over. You know?
Yeah. I mean, dude, if we did a US tour on our demo, we wouldn't be a band now. Like it would have been hell.
Hard to do. Yeah.
I mean, like my old band, it's like I'm glad that we got out there and did it, and like, yeah, I mean, we didn't do like a full US tour on a demo, but like we like got out there and did it, and it was like very adventurous. And like I am super grateful though, because like a lot of people that I kind of met through my old band, you know, effectively got grandfathered into knowing about Heart Attack Man, and like we're like a little predisposed to. They're like, oh, I'm gonna check this out because you know he's doing this. This is a new thing, and I'm really grateful for, you know, there are plenty of people that I'm still in touch with from back then that I'm super grateful for that. As I get older too, I'm just like, man, like I feel like there's so many. I mean, as I'm sure you guys have experienced too. It's like over the course of your lives, like you meet so many people, and so many people come and go, and like sometimes it trips me up. Like I'll be thinking, I'll just be like sitting and reminiscing, and then I'm like thinking about someone that like I haven't seen in like 10 years that I was like really close with for a short time or something, and then you know I'm like, man, I hope that person's doing all right. And like sometimes, you know, there's like you don't really have a way to get back in touch with them. Like I experienced that recently with someone that I went to high school with. That is a cool dude that we were buds in high school, and like after high school a little bit, we, you know, stayed in touch a little bit, but then I just didn't hear from him forever. And like I was thinking about him recently. I was like, man, I hope that guy's doing all right. And like from what I could tell, I couldn't find him on social media or anything. Couldn't like message him. And then like a few weeks ago, actually, I ran into him at a show, and he was like,
Wow.
Eric, he's like,
Damn.
Eric, how are you doing? I'm like, holy shit, dude, I haven't seen you in like 12 years. You know, I'm like, how have you been? And like, doing really good. And he's like, you know, I'm like, what are you doing these days? Like, he's like, I'm a front of house engineer. Like I tour doing sound for bands and shit. I'm like, oh, that's awesome to know. Like,
yeah.
We definitely need those. You know, we're always like looking for people that, you know, do like people in the touring world that do various jobs. We're like, okay, like, you know, we have our people, but it's like not everyone's able to do everything all the time. I'm like, oh, that's awesome to know that you're doing that. And I was like, dude, take down my number. Cause like I told him, I was thinking about you the other day and wanting to like, I don't know. I was like hoping you're doing all right. I was like, I would love to catch up with that dude. I'm just like really glad that it actually happened. And it was super happenstance, like very surreal almost. That I was like, I was just thinking about this dude the other day, and I was talking about him with my girlfriend. And I was like, you know, I told her like stories from high school of this dude. I'm like, he was a cool dude. And I was like, I hope he's doing all right. And then I fucking run into him at a random ass show.
That we call that nerdvoyance. Our third host Nate would probably call it that we live in a simulation, because you're like you forget about him and then he crosses paths with you again. But
yeah,
it's pretty wild how
that
stuff like that can happen, right? It's nuts. It's just nuts. And then he's doing something in your world. It's not like
right. I'm just like, what? Like, okay, like, yeah. I'm like, dude, like, take down my number. He's. I think he's on tour now, but he was like, dude, when I'm back, like, we gotta catch up and get coffee and all that. I'm like, yeah, dude, for sure. So like, I was really glad to be able to catch up with him. But yeah, I mean, kind of like segueing back to what I was talking about before, like over the years, like so many people have come and gone in my life. And it's like, you know, obviously like I mean, some people might not be alive anymore, but like I would be willing to bet that most of those people are still alive and living a life and doing things. And like, you just don't hear from people. And I'm really grateful for the people that have been able, like that I've been able to remain in touch with for a long time, and people that like, you know, have a history with, even if we're not like the closest of friends. It's like, you know, this is cool that we're able to like, you know, kind of be on our paths doing our thing, and we're still friends in any capacity. I'm super grateful for that. I think it's awesome. Friendship is dope.
It is. And I think the nature of what you do and like what this podcast does, it's a niche thing, right? I mean, and it's funny, like I'll go to shows here in Portland and I'll see people that I met in the mid 2000s, you know, and it's no accident. We like weird shit. I think.
Yeah, and you're still doing it. And it's like, you know, sometimes it's like people come and go, and like they'll be away for a while, or someone will move or something. It's like if they end up back, then it's like, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I feel like there's this gravity that like we all experience that still kind of pulls us back to these places and running into these people. It's like, I experience that quite a bit where it'll be like, I mean, it's with shows, it's such an easy thing where it's like, okay, like,
Definitely.
yeah. So it's like you see someone, I'm like, I'm catching up with someone that I haven't seen in years. It's like sometimes the most refreshing thing for me, and it just makes me, because I feel like there are times where, like, on the topic of the simulation, I'm like going crazy. I'm like, man, are we living in a simulation? I get really in my head about like certain things, and just getting out and talking to people, catching up with old friends. It really is like, as I get older, just like the nicest reset for me and my mental health and stuff.
Man, it's a huge mood booster, uplifter, especially when it's people that you spent a ton of time with maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and then they come back into your life. We had that happen with us. We have friends, very close friends of the podcast that they do our theme music that I used to work with 20 years ago, and we reconnected because of this. So
that's awesome.
I'm with you, man. It feels great. That's always fun. But all right, so early on when you guys are figuring it out, and I swear we'll move on to the album, but when you're figuring it out, was there a band or artist or a couple of bands that you look to and you're like, they know what they're doing, I want to make sure that we're doing it that way?
Yeah, you know what? I feel like the band that was like a contemporary band that I feel like, a lot of people in our world know, that like we've known for a long time, that has very fortunately, we feel very lucky to have become friends with, but we were all fans before. That band for us, I feel like, has always been Drug Church. Like that band's just they've just always been that band, in my opinion. Like, I don't know, I found them very early on. I'm like, this is so sick, and it just hit immediately. And we all liked them very early on, and then eventually, I mean, now we toured with them in 2018. So, I mean, yeah, now that was 7 years ago, but like, that was like a band very early on, kind of getting into all of this, where I'm like, okay, this band like perfectly kind of like melds the aggressive that I love, and that's like kind of in my DNA, but also has like, the true kind of like melodic tendencies, and is able, they were just able to like weave that and kind of have like it's their own special sauce. And they've just always, I don't know, that band has just always been that band for us.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, they could open for the Boss Tones tomorrow, and everyone would accept it. Yeah, and they could be on Sound and Fury, which they have the next day.
Kinlan would be fucking stoked on that.
Exactly.
Like, I feel like the only two bands that guy likes are the Boss Tones and Earth Crisis.
Hey, shout out Pat Kinlan. If you want to come on the podcast, let's go, baby.
Yeah, we had his co-host on.
We did. But yeah, like they merged that well. Those scenes very well. Like they merge it very well, and you guys fit. It's no accident that you guys toured together, and played shows together years ago.
Yeah, the band's always been like, I think it's cool when like bands are able to be influenced by contemporary bands and bands that you're peers with, and it's not like a competitive thing. It's just like, no, like what you're doing really speaks to me, and like, yeah, there's gonna be moments where like we'll do something that sounds kind of Drug Churchy, but it's like we're kind of like taking that and making our own special sauce with that. And it's like, we're not just like a rip. They're definitely an influence. And I think it's cool when I feel like a lot of bands have this tendency to like want to be influenced by stuff that is no longer around, or like stuff that is like, it has to be at least like 15 or 20 years old for me to able to be influenced by this, and to not like to be viewed with any ounce of credibility. And it's like, nah, dude, like Drug Church is a fucking sick band, and I will always put on for that band, because it's like, I've been a fan for so long, and to be able to go from being a huge fan to like becoming friends with them and all that, it's been great. And that, I feel that's who first came to mind when you asked that question. I mean, they've just always been that band.
Right on. Yeah. So, all right, let's dig into the new record here. The new record, Joyride the Pale Horse. We're dropping this the Monday before it comes out, so it'll be out later this week.
Yes.
And we've been very fortunate enough to have listened to it a few times ourselves. Really, really dig it front to back for me. I know.
I think
Anthony would agree. It's a front to back. There's not anything to skip on here. And there's a lot of, urgency, high energy. It's passionate. You can feel like you guys mean what's coming out of you versus just going through the motions, with some bands can do. Not the case here. This has got all of the the emotion that you guys are feeling at your age, man. I remember hitting 30 and being like, holy shit, this is what it's like. Like, I gotta start to worry about maybe getting older and start to worry about am I where I'm supposed to be? Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I
right?
I feel all that, man.
I appreciate the kind words. Like, it's I feel very lucky that each step of the way, each record and each project we do, it's like it feels like we're the most excited we've been to. We're like, okay, no, this is the new benchmark of our catalog, and like it's like a friendly competition with ourselves, where we're like, okay, each time we release something, we have to one up ourselves, and it means so much to hear that you guys really like the record, and that urgency has translated, and that there's like the energy is there, so like we're so psyched about it, and any kind words about it really means the world.
Well, there's a reason why we like to dig into the formation of the band and your history.
Oh yeah.
And because it kind of paints the picture for the album. Like, Can't Slow Down, Lifetime, Kid Dynamite, got it. Yeah. I can only assume that you're a fan of like 90s alt rock as well.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, that's my bread and
that
butter.
comes through. It comes through.
That's the thing. That's like 90s alt rock is like my bread and butter. That's like what, I don't know. If I feel like if I had to listen to one decade of music for the rest of my life, if I had to only listen to 90s music for the rest of my life, I think I could get by fine.
Same.
Yeah, but Can't Slow Down actually is very on the nose. Saves the day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. First record saves the day. Like, but obviously Saves the Day, super Lifetime influence. But yeah, all that, like that, I love that. But yeah, I mean, 90s alt rock is just like any time for me. It's like there'll be as I get older, it's like there are like certain genres and bands for like different times and all of that, but I feel like my base sort of like resting level of like what I can kind of put on at any time, and what like excites me, especially when I find something that's like some hidden gem or something that like, I don't know, that like it's always exciting to me to find some new old band that like maybe got overlooked or lost to the sands of time and stuff.
That's my life's mission, by the way, is to do that.
Yeah.
And we do.
Dude, I mean, I say this like at our print shop. I mean, we just knocked out like a couple hundred shirts for the band Catherine Wheel. Great 90s band, British band. And like, we have been in touch with them just out of me being a fan of the band. We established a contact online, and then, I just kind of shot our shot. I was like, hey, like, I know that you guys haven't been been an active band for a long time, and you haven't had like a online merch store or anything. Like, I don't think they've done official merch in like 20 years, maybe 25 years.
Probably.
So, I was like, hey, if you guys would ever want to do something like that, like, we'd love to help bring that to life. And it's been a big back and forth and like taken a long time, but it's finally coming to fruition. And yeah, I mean, that being said, I mean, like 90s alt rock in general and all of its flavors. I mean, that like, I feel like there's just a never ending well of influence to be taking from.
Yeah. Well,
it's really great.
It wasn't a mistake. You were wearing that Sugar shirt in the Pitch Black video.
Oh yeah. Sugar's like, I'd have to say Sugar is, I mean, definitely one of my favorite bands. I mean, I've said they're my favorite band plenty of times, but I'm kind of back and forth between what I say is like definitively my favorite band. I'd say that it goes between Sugar, Fugazi, and Metallica. Because Metallica was like my first favorite band. They're the reason that I started playing music, and like, I don't know. I was listening to them earlier today. I was listening to And Justice for All, and it's like that shit is just always like, I don't know, it always hits for me. I never get tired of it. So I don't know. Metallica, Fugazi, and Sugar, I'd have to say, are my favorite bands.
I fucking love Metallica.
Yeah,
and actually, Injustice for All was the album that I kind of got into. I got the tape, Blackened is on that. And that song is Incredible.
It's a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece.
Yeah, I for years I was like, yeah, And Justice for All is my favorite, and I do love it. I think it's a shame that there's no bass on the album, but I think as I've sat with it more, I don't know. I am a Black Album truther, and I know that
Yep.
was kind of a jumping off point for a lot of the old school fans and stuff, but I don't know. I just think the Black Album is like a fucking perfect album, and that's not to say that like any of the albums before that weren't, masterpieces of their genre. I think they're like, there's really no wrong answer when it comes to like the early Metallica stuff, but I don't know. I think Black Album's, at least currently, my favorite.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm listening to Laughing Without Smiling, which is out. Like people have heard that, and I'm here in the '90s, right? And then One Good Reason with the verses, the '90s. You can hear the '90s influence, and
Yeah, I'm a '90s baby.
Yeah. And the thing is like 1 week we'll talk about NFG on this podcast, and the next week we'll talk about Hum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're just geeks, and we love the range. Like our listeners, if you have not heard the album, go check it out. If you've not heard Heart Attack Man, go check it out, because if you live in our world, which is you love the heavy, you love the '90s, love the pop punk, like this is probably as good as anyone can do with that mold. Yeah,
I love Hum. Like Hum is up there for sure too. I cannot like the excitement that I got when they just dropped Inlet randomly.
Oh,
Right? So good.
Dude, we were actually we were in the studio recording our Thoughts and Prayers EP, and Brett Romness, who we recorded that with, and we recorded Joyride the Pale Horse with, like that dropped, and he's a huge Hum fan as well, and it was like we couldn't believe, we're like, what the fuck, there's a new Hum record, like, okay,
and it rips, and it is
so
all
good.
time.
It's so,
So
good, dude.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring to me. That's like, okay, this band just like went away forever, and then they come back with a surprise album and it rips. It's like, dude, that's crazy. I think like bands like Hum, I think Failure's done that, where it's like they went away for a while and then came back with like, I mean, some of that new stuff is like, it feels like they didn't skip a beat, and like Swerve Driver, they went away for a bit and came back with like Future Ruins. That album's really great. So like, I don't know, it's really inspiring to me when bands can like exist sort of like in their prime, but then they can come back and it's still amazing. It's like that like the self-titled Comeback Lifetime album. That's my favorite one. That's my favorite
Fueled
one.
by Ramen one.
Yeah,
mid
like
'90s, mid
love
2000s. Yeah.
I'm partial to it because that was my introduction to Lifetime, but like I love that record. And also it's super inspiring to me, like with a band like Cannibal Corpse, like being super deep into their career, and they're like, I think, what was it, Violence Unimagined? That album I think is like, that's my favorite Cannibal Corpse album. Like I think they're so dialed in and so good at being Cannibal Corpse. And I don't know, like it's really inspiring to me when a band can like remain so dialed into what makes their band special, and to be able to continue to do that. I mean, even 20 years after, like,
Right.
Forget us. We haven't even been a band for 20 years. And it's like, I think to be able to like maintain that vision and nurture that for decades is like so impressive.
Well, to put it away and then pick it right back up. That's the
too.
crazy part. It's like
That too, yeah.
to be able to just drop a record and have it be, one of the best records they've ever put out. And
Yeah, dude,
it's
Inlet's
nuts.
amazing. I love Hum.
Yeah, Hum
We all
is
do. We all love
huge
Hum.
fans here for sure.
They're definitely Hum and Failure are a big influence on the record for
Nice.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Brett, back working with Brett again.
Brett, who also drums in Crime and Stereo.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
In every other great Long Island band.
I know he's in a bunch
dude,
of.
It's funny because, okay, so circling back to what you said, Can't Slow Down, that song,
Yeah.
that's our first time doing like that beat, the punk beat with, like, what do you guys call that beat?
Melodic hardcore beat. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, like the fast beat,
The fast beat. Yeah.
the Kid Dynamite Lifetime beat. I don't know.
Yep.
So that song was our first time attempting that with Heart Attack Man, because like my old band, that was like all we did. But like then didn't even attempt it with any songs with Heart Attack Man from the start. And now we're like, okay, you know what? It'd be fun to try this out. Let's do a short song like this. Do a fast fast, very urgent song like this, but like keep it short, like keep it brief. We don't want to overstay our welcome with the song. And it felt so fitting to like do it with Brett, because Brett is like, as you said, in so many great Long Island bands, he's just like he's just so good at drums, and he's like a master at that beat. And it was really cool to like, because I mean, Adam has played that beat before in songs with like old bands and stuff, but like doing it for the first time in this band at like, I don't know, that studio and stuff, it was like really cool it was a really cool moment for like, I don't know, Brett kind of like coaching us all through it. Because I mean, when we've done that before, it's like we've just played it and it hasn't been on a click or anything. We're like, okay, let's try doing it on a click and like have it be like, you know, consistent and all of that. And it's fucking weird playing the punk beat to a click, because it's like sounds all backwards, and it sounds like you should be like accenting it differently, and it's really confusing. But once it all came together and like it really clicked for us, we're like, oh, okay, this makes sense now. And then I think knocking it out and doing it to a click and having it be that consistent and like just bam, 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 straight through the song, like just screaming all the way through, I think really helped it like maintain that energy and the consistency.
So I'm going to the live show. Like, if you play that live, are you going to ditch the guitar? You got to.
So
how are you going to pull that off?
Wait. So currently, I just so when you saw us, I was playing guitar and singing.
Yeah.
I'm just singing right now.
Oh
Okay.
shit!
Yeah.
When did that happen? Just I'm curious.
That was a post-COVID thing. Like,
Right on.
yeah, we were like working on new shit over COVID, and I was like, when we were talking about it, was like a conscious decision. I was like, when we return to playing live, I don't want to feel like time just stopped for us. I want to like show everyone like, hey, like we were still working on our shit. We were honing our sound, and things like we developed, you know. So when we got back to touring, I was just on vocals.
We've listened to the record a few times, and I'm curious with you guys specifically, does the theme or an idea lyrically of the song come first, or does the music come first and it presents a lyrical vibe that you run with?
That's a good question. I feel like a lot of times, I mean, especially with this record, I had one thing that I think really kind of helped us with this record, and executing it as successfully as we did, was it was a lot more deliberate in ways where like I was taking notes of like, what do I want to write a song about? Or I would just like jot down ideas that would come to me and then organize them later. But it was a lot more deliberate where I'd be like, okay, like at times there would be this idea of like, I want to write a song about this and kind of directly tackle this and this experience in my life. I really want to like dig into this and channel that energy. So I would like write down stuff a lot more and be a bit more tactful and deliberate with it. Also, I would like, if I was listening to a song that really spoke to me, I would save a lot more songs and like be like, okay, identify what I really like about a song and take influence appropriately from it, where I'm like, okay, this is what really excites me about this song, and I want to like emulate that in our own way. I don't want to just like completely ape it and rip it off, but like find a way to like take this quality and bring it into like our world. And so it's kind of a little bit of both, where I mean, like I would come up with like riffs and chord progressions and stuff, and then it would be a matter of like, okay, I have this musical idea, but I have this particular thing that I want to write about, and these melodies are kind of taking shape and popping into my head. So like, you know, does this song musically sound like it would be suited to like this theme that I want to tackle in this particular song? You know, so like, I guess to kind of answer your question, it's a little bit of both. I mean, it's just kind of looking at it big picture in a broad sense, just getting a ton of ideas down, whether it's a musical idea or a lyrical idea, or even just what I want to like lift inspiration from and all of that, and kind of like emulate in a way. It's all just kind of throwing it into the pot.
Because it fits, right? Like it fits. Like there's songs where the theme fits the music, and it's like, what started that? Like, what was you know what I mean?
Like I would say for like One Good Reason, for example, I would say that started more as like a musical that started music, like that started instrumentally rather, and then that kind of influenced where it went thematically and lyrically, and we're like, okay, how does this feel? And then really kind of tapping into that and finding the right words, the right tonality, and the right everything for it, to where that was a song that, you know, that was a bit more influenced by that. But then like the song Lay Down and Die, for example, that is personally, as it stands right now, that's my favorite song on the record.
Mine too. Hand up, mine too. Listeners, you haven't heard it, you're in for a treat. End of the week, Friday or Thursday at midnight, go listen.
Dude, thank you. But that song, for example, I was like, okay, I had a childhood friend who passed away a couple years ago, and I really like it hit me in a way that, like, I've lost people before, but like this was, you know, and I've lost people my age before, but like I hadn't lost someone that like I kind of had these like very core childhood memories with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, I hadn't really experienced that, so it was like, and the thing is, just with all of it, there's just sort of this flurry of different emotions I was feeling from it. So I mean, like I really wanted to kind of like grieve in that way and tackle that emotionally. And I was thinking about that prior to the song, and then as like, so that was a song that kind of existed as an idea before it was properly a song, and then, you know, was thinking about exactly what I wanted to say, how I wanted to express that, and then it started kind of taking shape musically, you know, around that in a way.
Yeah, well, I feel like there's a lot of that vibe throughout the entire record. Did you guys set out at the start to do that, or was that like, this is just the way it's going? All of these feelings are things that we're getting out onto paper, essentially.
So the way that it kind of is with us is like, it's not like our records are all, you know, like deep concept records that tell some elaborate story, but there is, you know, it's like detailing things that happen in my life and all of that, and it's there is some continuity to it, to where I'm like, okay, like our first record, for example, really came from a place of feeling sad and confused about, like, you know, where I stood with a lot of my friends, and like feeling betrayed and all of that. And so that was like a very, you know, adolescent, miserable record that came from a genuinely very sad place. And also, I mean, just was like a ton of other stuff I was going through mentally, and sort of like navigating, like being on on medication and stuff, like all these things kind of compounding and making for this like very cathartic but miserable record that kind of simmered over into the second record, like processing those feelings more, you know, having like feelings of anger towards the same situations, where I'm like, okay, this is like my pissed off fuck you album, and like kind of like navigating through these things and allowing myself to feel, you know, it's all kind of like in tandem with each other, where it's like, okay, like these things happen in my life and it's all kind of response to it. So it's not necessarily like a concept record, but like there is based in real life and real emotions. Like that's,
sure. Yeah.
I mean, that's what emotional music is supposed to be, right? You know, it's like, I feel like there's plenty of stuff where you can just kind of like say stuff that doesn't mean anything, but like that, we're not in the business of doing that. So it's like with this record, and yeah, I mean, all of our records and various projects, really, it's like there's, you know, I'll kind of start writing something, and there'll be like a song that kind of kicks it all off. And sometimes it ends up, it's still like it makes it to the record. Sometimes it doesn't, but it kind of sends me on the journey of like, okay, like I'm in this headspace and I wrote this song, and like, I'm going to explore this more maybe. And it's like, are the other songs kind of touching on similar things? Are they, and then, so it's not like I have like, some grand idea starting out where I'm like, okay, I'm going to write a record to fit this and like to tell this story. It's kind of like, well, let's like kind of do our thing and just like, you know, write songs and see where it takes me. And then like a few songs in is kind of when I start feeling, or really start noticing patterns of like, okay, this is like shaping out to be something that's a little bit of a theme going on. And with Joyride the Pale Horse, really, I mean, I'd say Joyride the Pale Horse, the song, and then the first song, One More Song, Imposter Syndrome. Those were like the first two songs that kind of kicked this all off.
Oh, right.
And from the start, kind of going into it, you know, I knew, early on, I was like, okay, the one thing I kind of knew going into it, I was like, it really seems like one more song should be like the opening track. I think it would be an awesome opening track, and then Joyride would be like a sick closer. So that was really kind of something I sort of like intuition early on that I was like, this seems to be the move. Let's try to stick to this. And then, that was kind of as the theme was taking shape, presenting itself. And overall, it's like the whole record really just kind of wrote into a theme of death and like my own mortality and all of that. And like, as I get older, being more acutely aware of that.
All right, so don't forget to check out the record later this week, Friday when it comes out, and to check Heart Attack Man out on tour with the Dirty No, Carpool, and Dear Seattle in early June. And Eric, we really appreciate your time today, man.
Of course, thank you guys for having me.
Hell yeah. Thanks,
Awesome.
Eric. This was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Of course.
Thank you for listening to Podioslave. We are at Podioslave on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the places that you can find us on social media. Facebook, Podioslave Podcast. YouTube, Podioslave Podcast there. Email us at podioslavepodcast@gmail.com. And hey, if you want to become a supporter, click on the link at the bottom of the episode and give us $1, give us $5. It keeps the lights on, keeps us going. We really appreciate that stuff. Thank you.